A squat is a foundational strength exercise and a fundamental movement pattern for daily living. And a goblet squat is great for those just starting with strength training or those looking to learn proper squatting technique. Holding the weight in front provides a counterbalance, enabling you to get lower without compromising form. You can do a goblet squat with a kettlebell or a dumbbell or a medicine ball or even something like a jug of laundry detergent. The goblet squat doesn't allow for a really heavy load, which is perfect for focusing on squat form before moving to other variations like a front squat or a back squat. There are three primary things to keep in mind when it comes to squat form: your knees, your back, and your core. You want your knees to stay pointing in the same direction as your feet. So often in a squat, depending on your anatomy, you might have your feet pointing forward, but a lot of times they turn out just a little bit. That's totally fine. We just want our knees to continue to point in the same direction as our feet, regardless of where they're pointing to start, ahead or slightly out. So if you happen to notice as you're squatting down that your knees start to cave in comparison to your feet, or as you lift back up, that your knees cave in comparison to your feet, then you are probably using a load that's a little too heavy. Lighten your load and really focus on keeping your knees in line with your feet, pointing in the same direction as your feet, all the way down and all the way back up. With your back, you want a nice straight back, a neutral spine. Your angle of your back will depend on a variety of things. Some of it's anatomy and some of it's also the position of the weight. But regardless of the angle of your back will be straight. It will have your natural S curve. There won't be a bunch of flexion or rounding in the spine. So one of the things that happens quite a lot in a squat, and actually I see it a lot in a yogi squat, malasana, is that people round through the low back and really tuck their butt underneath them. If you notice that your butt is tucking underneath you, you want to pull your tailbone back. Lift your chest up nice and tall and find that neutral spine. If you're not able to pull your tailbone back out from underneath you, then you're probably going lower than you need to. You don't need to go all the way down. Only go as low as you can, keeping that nice neutral spine, straight spine position, no flexion, rounding through the spine. And the last piece is your core. So you want your core to be nice and engaged throughout the whole movement, all the way down, all the way up. That strong engaged core will help you maintain that straight spine. So now that you know the primary form cues to pay attention to as you're squatting, how do you actually do a goblet squat? Take your weight. I'm using a dumbbell, but again, you could use a kettlebell or a medicine ball or some other type of weight that you've got around. Place your feet slightly wider than hip distance apart. You're going to hold the weight just in front of your chest. Keep your shoulders back so that you've got that nice straight spine. As I said, based on your anatomy, your feet might point out and your knees might point out a little. They might point ahead, whatever works best for you. Engage your core, and then slowly and with control, lower down only as far as you can, keeping your spine nice and straight, keeping your knees pointing in the same direction as your toes. And then exhale, push through your heels and stand. Slowly lower with control. Exhale, push through your heels and stand. That's a goblet squat. If you have any questions for me, just leave them in the comments.